I'm just doing it so that Paul can join. Why does Khaled want to join?
He might. So he asked, he's like, can I do it online? And I was like, I don't think so.
I might be able to get him a link.
All right, just let me text him.
I don't have to move my quality.
So you only have the
Yeah, I just have the engineering, so I do all of the design and all of the interface with the engineers from our primes. To figure out, they come in and part, okay, I can't make that, but I can make it this, you know, and, go back. I don't need that, just for solar, do all the costs, do all of the manufacturing, programming. So I do all of that stuff. No, I have somebody else who does. Somebody else does it. I mean, unless something's real bad, if something's bad, I get involved, but, most of the time it's just. Yeah. Something, no. Or when somebody particularly important gets upset with us.
special attention.
I had a phone call from, we had a, faulty ass.
Paul, can you hear me? You're on mute. Can you unmute
Yep,
yourself?
I got you. I can hear
You
you.
can hear?
Yep,
Okay, we're gonna get
perfect.
started then.
Okay.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Ashford Board of Finance public hearing. I'm Christina Davis. I'm the chair of the Board of Finance. So the way this evening's gonna work is we have the public hearing until that ends, and then we will have a meeting of the Board of Finance immediately following the hearing. I'm going to do a presentation, which I'll walk through these slides, and after the presentation is when we'll open it up to public comment. Just to cover our legal basis, I'm going to read the Board of Finance legal notice, which is riveting. Here we go. The electors and citizens qualified to vote in town meetings of the town of Ashford, Connecticut are hereby notified and warned that a public hearing will be held at Knowlton Hall on Tuesday, April 8th, 2025 at 7 p.m. The public hearing will be for the purpose of receiving information regarding the proposed fiscal year 2025-2026 general government budget, Ashford's school budget, Regional School District 19 budget, and the 2025-2026 capital projects budget. Copies of the proposed budgets will be available in the office of the town clerk on April 2nd, 2025. There are also some copies in the back. And if we run out of copies, there's a QR code that you can scan and call up all the documents electronically. Or you could also just do that for later so you can look at the documents later. And then this notice is dated at Ashford, Connecticut, this 27th day of March, 2025. Christina Davis, Chairman, Ashford Board of Finance. Great. So, just gonna slide my chair out of the way. So I'm going to jump into this PowerPoint presentation. Basically, I'm just going to go through the background of what got us here today and why you're seeing the numbers that you're seeing in the various budgets. So this is a lengthy and detailed list of dates. This presentation, by the way, is in that, if you scan that QR code, you can access the presentation as well if you want to look at it later. But the budget process starts way back in December. And we're here today for the public hearing. And then the next really key dates are Tuesday, April 22nd is our town meeting, which then adjourns to a referendum, which is held on Tuesday, May 6th. And that's when people come here to vote on the budgets. You color in your circle and put your ballot in the machine. So it's been a long process, a lot of inputs, a lot of conversations over the last few months, and this is another step in that process. So this next slide, I feel like a broken record. I've said this many times in person, virtually, on Facebook, in emails, but I'll say it one more time. So we have three major issues impacting our budget this year. The first one is declining state revenue. So one of our largest sources of funding for our school is the education cost sharing grant, and that is projected to decline by 3% for the 25-26 fiscal year. So when we have revenue go down, that's a problem that either needs to be made up or cuts need to be made. Region 19, which is E.O. Smith High School, our Ashford's share of students going to E.O. Smith in the fall is going up in proportion to the other two sending towns of Mansfield and Willington. So that means our share of the budget for the high school is going up. And the initial budget increase from Region 19 for Ashford was 11-something%, which is huge. Basically, 1 mil of our increase is due to the E.O. Smith increase. That did come down slightly, but to a 9.56% increase, so still very significant. Full disclosure, my son is one of the people who is adding to the number of students going to E.O. Smith next year, so I have a dog in that race. And then number 3, declining grand list. So the grand list is the value of all the property in our town that we can tax. And due to some changing rules in how we value motor vehicles, that grand list is going down. It's not as bad as it was initially. Initially, we were looking at like an 18% decline, which was pretty scary. We were given the opportunity as a town to adjust that, and the decrease in the end is about 6.2% to our motor vehicle grand list. Just some other factors that are impacting the budget. We always have negotiated salary and benefit increases, healthcare costs going up for everyone all the time, always. Declining number of volunteers at the fire department has necessitated 100% paid coverage, which started last year. General inflationary pressures, just like all of us individually paying more for things, the town also and the school also have to pay more for things. A declining student population at the school, and that's not unique to Ashford, that's across Connecticut, across the world in many cases. Unfunded mandates, particularly on the school side of things, where they're required to do things, but there isn't funding to actually do it, so that has to be made up somewhere. And then cuts to federal funding, which I will get into a little bit more detail. Right here on this slide, so this is actually contributed by Jane Urban from the Board of Ed and Cindy, specifically to the federal funding, because this is like a live issue that's happening as we speak, that we know, I believe that ESSER extension of 59,000 is likely cut unless someone's mind changes. So that, that's going to have an impact. That'll some things will have to come out of the budget. And then there are other federal funded things that the school offers. So if this money goes away, that's a problem for the town and for the school. So just something to keep in mind as we talk about the budgets. Looking beyond the 25-26 budget, because as we plan this budget, we need to think about the future as well. A lot of these things are going to be in place. Again, according to the governor's budget, our ECS funding is going to go down another 3% in 26-27. Our share of that E.O. Smith budget is projected again to go up for this 26-27 fiscal year. Next year, we are going to have a reval, which means they're going to take a look at all of the property in town and likely raise the value unless something crazy happens in the housing market, which it could. But a lot of other towns that have done revals recently have seen significant increases in the value of their property, so that just changes the dynamic, so it's something to keep in mind. Then just there's unknowns, you know, what's gonna happen to the overall economy. As the days go by, it's becoming more and more uncertain, I would say. What's gonna happen with the housing market? It's been relatively strong the last few years post-COVID. We don't know what'll happen in the coming months. And again, the federal funding. So all of these issues were things that we kept in mind as we prepared these budgets for this public hearing. Now, this is sort of the headline numbers. So we're looking at a 2.43% increase in the general government budget, which covers things like town hall, DPW, et cetera. Ashford Board of Education, which is Ashford School, has a 2.49% increase. Region 19 has a 9.56% increase. And that is a total general fund operating budget of about $17.2 million and a 4.11% increase over the previous fiscal year. This line down here, capital improvement budget, does not impact, so that number 17 million impacts the mill rate calculation, which we'll get to. The capital improvement budget is funded by different monies, so we're not taxing for that. So that's $1.38 million. It's a dramatic drop from the previous year, but that's because we had a significant project at the school. So it's kind of hard to compare. It's not like, oh, gee, we saved money. It's just we're not doing a huge project this year. So the total spending plan is about $18.5 million, and it looks like a decrease because of that capital improvement change. So this slide just goes through, I'm trying to give people an idea of what's in the general government budget, because if you're not reading all the details, it's kind of hard to know. So this is the detail on general government for things like what happens in the town hall, Department of Public Works, you know, plowing of roads, paving of roads, all the various boards and commissions. The transfer station is a big thing, and that totals roughly $3.1 million in this budget. Then we also add in the additional town services of the fire department, the recreation department, the Babcock Library, which operates upstairs, the animal control services, and the youth and social services programs. So if you take these dollars and add it to the previous slide, you get the total general government budget of $4,141,148. Just a small note that we also, in our general government budget, take care of debt service, and our debt service is pretty minor, only $40,600 for right now, because we've paid off the town hall and the new fire department. Next up is education detail. Not too much to say here. It's kind of what you expect. It's teachers, supplies, staff, yeah. Revenues. This is a quick chart that shows you what the projected budget from the state is, and that's not finalized, but these are were the numbers that were in Governor Ned Lamont's budget, and you can see that 3.2% decline for education cost sharing. And then so that total state funding is about $3.8 billion, and then we have a small, relatively small amount of additional revenues for things like permits and fees and building permits, et cetera, that brings our total revenues, excluding property taxes, to about $4.17 million. Going back to the capital improvement plan that we looked at on that earlier slide, there's a lot of detail on the capital improvement plan, and I believe there's an outline of all the projects, so if you want more information, I just did a basic list. It's a lot of support for the Department of Public Works. There are projects for the fire department, including air packs, lighting upgrades. There are projects for the school, including a school bus and contracting with an architect to do a plan for the windows and main entrance doors, dog pound, parks, virtual meetings, etc. So just important to note here that this budget of 1.38 million is paid for through a variety of funding sources, not including local taxes. So we have state funding and grants. We have Ashford Schools Non-Lapsing Fund, which is basically their surplus funds that accumulate over time. Ashford Volunteer Fire Department contributed about $4,000 toward this budget. And then we also fund it through the town's undesignated fund and the CNR fund. And this budget includes a $300,000 transfer from the unassigned fund balance to the capital non-recurring fund. Basically, every year we just try to feed that, what's called the CNR fund, so that we have dollars available to fund these projects. Just kind of going back in time, so the initial budget proposals that came in to us in February, March, were general government was asking for a 4.83% increase. Ashford Board of Ed was asking for a 5.46. Region 19 asked for 11.29. And I would say, excuse me, I think it's fair to say that none of those budgets were doing anything specially new. It's not as if anybody came in and said, hey, we're gonna launch a new program at the school, or we're gonna do a state-of-the-art senior center. This was all to maintain services, these numbers. The estimated mill rate increase with those numbers, plus the issues that we're having in terms of revenues going down, grand list, et cetera, that was a 4.202 mill rate increase, which by historic standards is very, very high. And we felt, as a Board of Finance, and I think the other boards as well, felt that that really was not tenable. So that's when everybody went back to the drawing board to see where they could cut. So on the general government side, where we came out was a $4,000 cut from the fire department, about a $4,000 cut from the library, about $4,000 from youth and family services. Part-time support was reduced in the selectman's office and the tax collector and the highway staff departments. Reduced senior center, a municipal agent for the elderly free services and programs, and a restructured parks and recreation program. And I'll go into detail. I'll read this slide because I think it's important, and I know people feel, there's a lot of feelings about Parks and Rec, so I want to go into the detail here. So the Board of Selectmen approved this plan to move all parks-related maintenance to town properties, which is under the general government budget. Changed director position from full-time to part-time, 26 to 28 hours per week, commensurate with reduced responsibilities, and eliminated benefits for this position as it is now proposed to be part-time. Reduced other professional services to pay to play, to basically make them more self-sustaining, and changed the accounting for the Parks and Rec programs to a revolving account, which is something that we've done over at the Senior Center and now is being proposed for the Parks Department. Also reduced program expenses for the Parks and Rec to $5,500, which will only cover a reduced number of summer concerts, a band for Ashford Family Day, and a holiday carol sing. So these are not insignificant cuts. I think they are difficult. They are difficult for all of us to contemplate, but it's where we ended up in order to put together a budget that it still has a tax increase, to be quite frank, but we wanted to keep it as reasonable as we could. On the school side, so the Ashford Board of Ed, and I really summarized here, there's a lot more detail available online. But non-staffing cuts for the school totaled $97,522. That includes a reduction in health insurance, in technology, in physical therapy services, and in outsourced psychologists. And then, I think quite significantly, educational staffing cuts to the tune of $163,922, and that represents, I believe, 2 staff members, right? So the total net reduction for the school was about, from their initial ask, was about $256,000. Region 19, just so everybody understands, that Region 19 did not get out of this scot-free either. They put together a lot of cuts as well to try to mitigate their increase. So they cut textbooks, office supplies, equipment, software, contracted services, staffing. Several unfilled positions at the high school will remain vacant, including a math position. And then they are also cutting 3 instructional assistant positions that are currently filled. So these are people in the high school who have been there for a long time who unfortunately their positions are not going to be funded. So I know it's quite hard over there as well. I think I'm getting towards the end, everybody. Thank you for your patience. So then this slide goes through the mill rate calculation. If anybody ever wants to learn a little bit more how the math works, I'm happy to explain it. But basically, where we come out is for motor vehicles, we are capped at being able to tax at a rate of 32.46 mils, and that's set by the state in their infinite wisdom. So that means it shifts the burden to property owners, unfortunately. And then for real estate and personal property, so this would be the mill rate that impacts the taxes you pay on your home, comes in at 36.377 mils. That is an increase of 2.013 mils over the previous year. So if you remember at the beginning of the presentation, we were looking at a 4 mil increase. We cut that in half to a 2 mil increase. So for a home assessed at $100,000, a resident will pay $3,638, an increase of $202 over the previous year, or 5.86%. So again, still a significant number, you know. Interest rates or the inflation is like around 3%. You know, we've come down off the crazy COVID days of 8-9%. So this still outpaces inflation, which I know is not great, but it's also the reality of where we stand in terms of all the factors that I discussed. So just in closing, with this budget, we attempted to do the following: preserve services that the community has come to expect, enjoy, and benefit from, make difficult choices that help reduce the tax increase, and position us for the future. And with that, I will open it up to comments from everybody here. Yes, and we do ask that everybody keep their comments to 2 minutes. So whoever would like to speak first, raise your hand, I guess. Go ahead, Jeff.
Jeff Silversmith, for the record. Your calculation for the, what the effect would be, the tax effect would be, the $100,000, is that the 70% assessed
Yes.
value or full?
That would be the assessed value, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Go ahead, Janet.
Janet Bellamy. I'd like to thank everyone who worked on this. I know it's been a very difficult year for you. I did have a couple questions. One is, I noticed the registrar of voters budget went down. Is that because you don't expect to find that this year, or?
Catherine?
That's part of it. The other part of it is that they had gotten extra money last year that they needed when they were first setting up. We are certainly hoping that, and it's not reflected in the budget, we're hoping that the number of days for, what is it? voting. I can play Mad Libs right here. The number of days will decrease. I think it was what, 14? Yeah, it needs to be more reasonable because we had people there late and needed extra workers. So for this coming year, we don't anticipate it's going to be.
I have a couple of questions.
Go ahead.
I noticed, well, I just wanted to point out to everyone, in case you didn't notice, the waste hauling bill for our town is $260,000, which is really phenomenal. I noticed that you zeroed out the household chemical waste line. Is that going to a different?
That actually moved into another line, if I recall. It's, if you look, there's another line right near it, I think. That's under transportation.
It's on page 12.
It looks like actuals to date for this year also came in at 0, which indicates that we think it's not going to be anything.
I'm trying to think of where it got moved to. I think it got split up based upon what the waste is. I can get you that answer. I'm sorry, I can't answer it off the top of my head. I'm gonna here.
I just assumed that we had it somewhere. Wanted to know. I have one more question, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
Since it often comes up that we don't have enough activities for kids, I was wondering how the cuts to the Parks and Rec is affecting programs for kids like the bike school and so forth.
I know we don't have that slide up right now, but there's pay to play. Before, things were kind of muddled between the accounts in terms of pay to play and then program expense for things that are free. And we've offered a lot of things over the years that were free. I think there was at least $8,000 in freebies. So we reduced that number a bit. But what we did was we took a lot out of the, what we're going to call the revolving account that's been set up for Parks and Action Program. And that is for the pay-to-play programs. Instead of having 18, 20, 24,000 in here, what we have is a few thousand, and instead of the revenues from the programs going into the undesignated fund, basically away from Parks and Rec, we're reinvesting it in the programs. So the revenues get put right back into the line. So, am I making sense?
Yes, but does that mean we'll still be able to fund all of the kids' programs that we've had in the past?
That will depend. It will depend on what we charge. We really need to, we looked across multiple municipalities around here and of like size, and we found that we charge dramatically less for our programs than they do.
If we're going to charge for everything,
Not everything.
well, do we have a way to assist families who aren't able to afford programs?
We have monies that come in from the Lions Club. There are $2,000 a year comes in, and that money is typically split between recreation and the youth services programs. So, we have monies there. We will continue to look at everywhere we can to make sure we have them.
Any other comments? Yeah, go right ahead.
Just out of curiosity,
I'm sorry, what's your name?
Sorry, Sandra LeBarc. The waste management, I don't know how long our budget, how long our current contract is for that. The CPWM is like less than half of what Casella is. We moved to them over at housing, and we're saving significantly.
Oh, wow.
My understanding is that somebody signed with Casella again, but as soon as we can get out of that contract, we should move over and take it.
I signed with Casella last year because they offered the best program that we could find. We also were getting rebates on metal, on, cardboard. And, we looked around and looked at what the services are in terms of you having for this, for, senior housing authority. That's a smaller, much smaller, entity than what we have in transfer station. So I don't think that the other ones could handle what was being proposed. We certainly didn't receive proposals from them.
What was the name of the company?
Casella.
No, I know Casella. What was the other one?
CPWM,
CP?
CP,
CPWM. And how do you spell your last name?
LABRECQUE.
Thank you.
We'll look again, but I can tell you, while we were working with Casella, I was holding my nose. Okay, it's, we get charged for one.
Just to add to that, I was over at one of the former owners of Knowlton Waste House, just one of the videos a couple weeks ago, and he said, one of their longest lines, right across from, Recycle Way, went to see them in Pima, because it was half the price.
Wow.
I don't know if they were half the price last year, but they'll change.
Well, whatever.
Can you just state your name for the record?
I'm sorry, Rick Watley, WATLY.
Do you have any other comments?
Not questions, so.
You can just make a comment.
Oh, okay. So I had this, I was driving around today and I had this recollection that dates back about 40 years. And, yes, I'm a lot older than that. But in any case, I was in a meeting, my mother, one of them that my mother dragged me to, and that I thank her now, I didn't want to go to them. And, they were talking about, money, budget. She was on the board of it, she was doing things just like we're doing now. And, they came up, someone made a comment, and I thought it was very applicable now, 40 years later. The thing was about the future. In no uncertain terms are the kids, the safety of our town through, the selectmen's budget and so forth, really setting us up for success in the future. If the taxpayers back then made a comment that it's the youth, like me, that they were addressing, that we're going to be supporting them years down the road. And in no uncertain terms is that just as true today, that supporting the youth and so forth in our schools or whatnot. In no uncertain terms, when I retire and so forth, I'm hoping the younger generation are there to support us, and it's our duty to support them so they can do that to the best of their ability.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes.
My name is Tracy Stansel. I've been a resident of Ashford for over 46 years, and for over 28 of those years, I've been a dedicated member of the Ashford Fire Department. I currently serve as Vice President and Captain of EMS. The fire department is the heart of our community, providing essential emergency response, fire prevention, and safety education. Yet we are often overlooked until a crisis strikes. Over the past 3 years, our call volume has increased by an astounding 62%, reflecting the growing needs of our community. Despite this surge, the recent budget cuts are devastating. And while many community members might think $4,000 is not a lot of money, this reduces well-deserved raises for our hardworking team, a team that is already the lowest paid department in the county. It forces a restructuring of staffing schedules and makes it nearly impossible for us to recruit new staff. Our part-time staff, who are crucial to our operations, will also lose opportunities to work. We simply cannot compete with neighboring towns who are offering much better pay and full benefits. And with declining volunteerism, we have no choice but to pay for staffing. We are also grappling with rising insurance and maintenance costs, which are beyond our control. The Ashford Fire Department has always managed its budget with fairness and care, but we should not be the only department making significant sacrifices while others prioritize raises. Our firefighters are the ones who respond when your house is on fire or when a loved one is experiencing a life-threatening emergency. No other department can replace the critical role we play. I'm asking you to reconsider the budget allocation for our fire department. We need the staff and resources to continue protecting our community. Investing in our fire department is not just about public safety, it's about the well-being and security of our entire town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to follow up, my name is Bob Mandy. I've been I'm a new member of the fire department. And the thing is, the finances that are there, not just for us, but we do mutual aid. If we get cutbacks, then that means we have less staff, and even our response to mutual aid, which all the territories around us are going to be affected as well. So it's one that, like, budgets will be on, like, repairs and stuff like that, the water stuff, it's not our fault. Again, if we get cutback, it's not just our area, but it affects all the areas around us.
What was could you spell your last name?
Yes, maybe it's Mimande.
Did you get that? Okay. All right, thank you. Any other comments? Going once? Going twice? Okay. I think that closes out the public hearing portion. I guess I'll just close the public hearing. Look at that, I did it, I closed it. At 7:37. So thank you to those who were here this evening. You are welcome to stay, or I won't be offended if you get up and leave. So we will now call to order the special meeting of the Ashford Board of Finance. I'll wait a second, let everybody move around.
Not by directly correcting me, but it's not CPWM,
Oh.
it's CW, Connecticut Waste,
Oh, okay.
CWPM.
CWPM, okay,
I think they're out in the window,
okay.
but they're expanding up here.
All right, great, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, let's call this special meeting to order at 7:39. We can do roll call. So Christina Davis, I'm present. Pam Summers.
Here.
Keith Lipker.
Here.
Judy Austin.
Here.
Paul Varga.
Here.
You were ready, Paul, good job. Angie DeSanto is not present. And for our alternates, Tim Rhodes is present. Holland, I don't think he joined, did he? No, okay. Is not present, and Hugh McKenzie is not present. Yeah. So Tim, I will seat you for Angie DeSanto.
I'm also present.
Catherine Silversmith, are you present? Yes, great. Okay, so our first agenda item is to discuss feedback shared during the public hearing. So do any board members have any comments, questions, thoughts? Come on, give me something.
Surprisingly civil.
It was very civil. Yeah, sorry.
Regarding the fire department and then, you know, the opportunity for, you know, youth and that are certainly, you know, the noteworthy and understood. But I know that when we were going through this process, we asked all the departments to go back and sharpen the pencils and take a hard look so that we could bring the overall impact to the Ashford community to something that be more affordable, I guess would be a way to put it. That's what they came up with. And, you know, it's really a tough choice. But if so many of our people in town are on fixed incomes, and any increase at all would be a tipping point for some of them. So I guess it's just that, you know, it's one of those things that is difficult as it seems. I think everybody has done what they could and still try to get by with this, with much less than everyone would have wished or desired to have. I don't know that we can do much more.
I know personally, obviously, I've taken very seriously the economic situation in the town, but I'm becoming more and more worried as the days go by with what's happening with the stock market. That's obviously impacting all of us with our, hopefully, if you're lucky enough to have a retirement account, and particularly as you get older, you don't have time to recover that money that's lost. So that's very concerning. And, you know, there's really a lot of very serious talk that we're entering a recession, and that will make it harder. That means unemployment goes up. That means people have a harder time paying their bills. So I don't feel confident about where we're headed, unfortunately. And that's why I think we have to make the kind of cuts that were made, unfortunately. So. Judy, what about you?
I'm agreeing with everything both of these said. Everybody did the best they could. So it's not gonna get any easier.
No, I don't
In
think so.
fact, we're gonna be in the same position next year.
Right.
If not worse.
Paul, do you want to make any comments?
I mean, no, not really. I think that we've done a really hard job or a good job this year of making hard decisions. I appreciate the comments from the people. But the reality is that things are really uncertain right now, and I don't think there's any need to make any change in what we did. That's just my thoughts.
Tim?
I think it's important to remember too that I don't think there's a world in which, you know, we as board members wouldn't love to be able to just give the school, the town, everybody exactly what they asked for in the beginning. You know, if we could take all of the consequences of those actions out of the situation, of course we would give the original increases to the school, to the town. You know, we all live here, we all want those services, we all want the benefits that they give us. But we're, as a board, stuck in a position where we do have to consider what is best for the town. You know, what can we actually stomach? Because I know from my personal standpoint, a 4 mil increase would have been felt in my household, as the sole income in my home. You know, so bringing this down to a 2% or a 2 mil, it still hurts. But cutting any more than we have, you know, like Paul said, these are hard decisions. We know what we've asked of the people of the other departments in the town. It's hard, but we have to be those people to make those hard decisions, you know, because in the end, we need it to hurt as little as possible, you know, while still maintaining as much of those benefits as we were looking to keep in the first place.
I do think it's worth noting, however, you know, that nobody in the public comment piece said that they don't support the budget, right? There are years where people come and say taxes are too high and how could you possibly contemplate this? And we didn't hear that this evening. And I know people like to say, well, it's because those people don't come to the meeting, and okay, but this is their opportunity to speak, and that point of view was not shared. So I think that that's important to note, which gives me some confidence if these budgets are to move forward that they will be supported. Because that's the key thing, is we don't want these to fail at referendum, because then we have to cut more, which would not be good. So we can move on and go to the motions that need to be made. The first motion, and I have the text of what we need to say, just because these, for legal reasons, we don't want to not dot our i's and cross our t's. So I will just read this motion, and then if someone wants to make a motion and second it, please speak up. So the first motion would be to approve and recommend to the Board of Selectmen that the 2025-2026 general government budget in the amount of, and I'm just going to go back to this to make sure I have the right number, in the amount of $4,141,148, and the 2025-2026 capital improvement plan budget in the amount of $1,388,709 be presented at the annual town meeting. Would anybody be willing to make that motion?
So moved.
So that was Keith, and a second?
I'll second.
I think Judy.
All right, Judy. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that passes unanimously. Next motion is to approve and recommend to the Board of Selectmen that the 2025-2026 Ashford Board of Education budget in the amount of $8,853,864 be presented at the annual town meeting. Who would like to make that motion?
So,
Pam, and a second
I'll second.
from Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that's unanimous. All right, we're almost done. Next motion, to approve and recommend to the Board of Selectmen that the Ashford's share of the 2025-2026 Region 19 Board of Education budget in the amount of $4,163,113 be presented at the annual town meeting. Would anybody like to make that motion?
So moved.
Tim, and a second from
I'll second.
Keith. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, unanimous. All right, the last motion is a request to the Board of Selectmen for an annual town meeting referendum dates. So this motion is to request that the Ashford Board of Selectmen schedule an annual town meeting adjourning to referendum for consideration of the 2025-2026 proposed budget. Judy makes the motion. A second? From Keith. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that passes. So I think we did it all. We got the general government, we got the Board of Ed, we got Region 19, we got the capital budget, and we've got the Board of Selectmen for the annual town meeting. I don't have remarks for the good of the board on the agenda, but I'll just say thank you, everyone, for taking the time to come out this evening and to participate in democracy. Let's use it while we have it. And thank you for your patience and listening to me drone on about money. And thank you to the first selectwoman for the hard work that she did along with the other selectmen and Chris Avakoff. And thank you to the Board of Ed members and the school administration for the hard work that they did, and the folks over at Region 19 who also worked very hard. Let's please spread the word to get out and vote, both at the town meeting and then at referendum to support our town. So with that, I will ask for someone to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
All right, a second? Judy, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Aye.
Have a good night.
Hey, Christina,
Yes, Paul?
my wife is gonna grab the projector and stuff. She should still be there.
Okay,
All right,
that's fine. Have a
thank
good night.
you. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Sorry, I just need to turn off this Zoom. Give me 1 second. Technical difficulties. Come on. How do I get out of this? Maybe here.